to an ecological crisis that is threatening the survival of humankind. And maybe we feel that we are going too fast in the car to enter the curve, and we put the brake, and then the car goes straight and gets out of the road. And we try to enjoy pleasure, and we missed it. We reject suffering because it's very bad, and we increase it. So we are always in this inverted law, and that's how our experience is going on all the time. We are always causing the opposite of what we want. Maybe immediately we obtain what we want. Yeah, maybe I am doing a business to get money. Yeah, I get money, but indirectly I will get a consequence which is unwanted and which will produce suffering for me in my attempts to produce pleasure or plenitude or wholeness. So a path has to come from enlightenment. In Tibetan Buddhism, normally we are explained, the path is explained in terms of Hinayana, Mahayana and Vajrayana. But at the end of the first millennium of the Christian era in Tibet, the path was explained in terms of paths of renunciation, path of transformation, which is Tantra, and path of self-liberation or spontaneous liberation, which is Dzogchen. Path of renunciation includes Hinayana and Mahayana. Path of transformation includes outer tantras or lower tantras and inner tantras or higher tantras. And path of self-liberation is just Dzogchen. The Ati Yoga Tantra Yana. That is the path of spontaneous liberation. I like spontaneous liberation because if we say self-liberation, some people misunderstand and they think it means that we liberate ourselves through our own power. And this is totally wrong. Our own power will only confirm delusion. It will never result in liberation. So self-liberation means it's liberated of its own accord. Okay. There are two books in which we can find this explanation, very old books. One of them is the Katan Denga by Namche Nyingpo, who was a direct disciple of Padmasambhava. And that book was hidden as a terma, and it was revealed in the 14th century by Urgen Limpa. And the other one is it was Nukchen Sangye Yeshe, who, according to some explanation, he was a direct disciple of Padmasambhava, but according to Chogyam Namkhe Norbu, he was a third generation disciple. I mean, he wasn't a direct disciple. And that is the Santen Migdron, is the Eyes of Contemplation. It's a book that hasn't been translated into English. There is a translation of the 9th chapter into Italian, but that's a little irrelevant now. When Chogyam Namkhe Norbu began to explain in terms of this path of renunciation, path of transformation, and path of spontaneous liberation, some Tibetan teachers said, he's teaching something that is not traditional, it doesn't correspond. So he had to say, well, you must go to this book and that book, which are so old. The Santen Migdron is from the 9th century or 10th century, and the Katan Denga comes from the 9th century, even though it was revealed in the 14th century. So some masters hindered him and went to those books, and they found that it was true that it was in those books. and he was not inventing some new way of teaching. Also in Bern, some teachers are teaching that way also, in terms of paths of renunciation, paths of transformation, and paths of self-liberation. Then the path of renunciation is based on a particular principle. The passions are like venomous snakes. They are something that if they manifest, they will take away the most precious thing that we have. Yeah? Like normally we think our life is the most precious thing, and a venomous snake, if it bites us, maybe we survive, yeah, but we fear that we will die, so we are afraid of venomous snakes. We want to keep them at bay as far as possible from us, yeah. In India, not so much, but many people die in India from snake bites also. So, why do we want to keep the passion from manifesting? Because the passions, first of all, they confirm delusion, they confirm the idea that there is a subject and an object. Every passion is an attitude of the object, of the subject to an object. So it confirms this second type of avidya. And also it depends on how I perceive the object. So it also involves the third type of avidya. So it increases the source of suffering. And the passions give rise to more suffering because they are more intense manifestations of delusion, and they create karma for more passions, so they are terrible. So we want to stop them from manifesting. And that is the principle of Hinayana. We go to the monastery, become monks or nuns to get away from the stimuli that elicit the passions, or we go to the woods, yeah, or the mountains for the same purpose. Of course, if we go to the monastery, then we find a monk who doesn't like us. He wants to be better than us, and then he's always trying to create trouble to us so that everyone else sees us as being worse than him. Yeah, and another one is very unruly, and he makes us angry, and another one he has all this sexual energy and he doesn't know what to do with it, and then he wants to get us to bed. So the whole of samsara will be reproduced in the monastery. It will not be a solution. And if we go to the woods or to the mountains or whatever, we also have trouble, yeah, because there are insects, animals, and then also, like, if we want to get away from all those stimuli, it's because we don't want to face them. And it's like if I tell you, don't think of a white elephant, what are you thinking of? Then we are escaping from the white elephant by thinking of him all the time, of it all the time, so it doesn't really work. Of course, some people get realized through this method, but it takes a long time. Even in the Mahayana, where the principle is not so much escaping, we remain in society, and we apply antidotes. So if, for example, I get very too much attracted to some girl, then I imagine her as being brains inside the skull, yeah, and gastric juices, that is vomit, inside the stomach, and excrement inside the intestines, and blood and muscles and intestines and stomachs and livers and so on.
Okay.
And then
Beautiful.
I get some repulsion.
Okay.
And
Wasn't that the same recipe for Christian monks? I think.
of what?
The same recipe for the Christian monks, because there was like somebody in the medieval times saying exactly the same, that if you're like a Christian monk and your eyes linger too much on a beautiful lady,
Yes.
you should remember that she's just bones and that she's gonna rot and that she's doing poop and all that stuff, just to take away the attraction. I think that's foolish in a way, but yeah, maybe that's,
Yeah, but it's a
matter.
method that is applied, yeah. And if someone makes you angry, then you think, oh, why does he want, I mean, why is he behaving like that? He must be feeling very bad. And then you develop compassion. And compassion is acceptance, so the acceptance replaces the rejection, and then the good emotion replaces the bad emotion. So that's the Mahayana method. But it's all Paths of Renunciation. Yeah. Also, you use emptiness as an antidote. Yeah. Oh, this attracts me, it's empty. Oh, this produces aversion, this is empty. And if I really realize emptiness, it stops it. But it's very slow. So in Mahayana Sutras, some of them say it takes 3 unmeasurable eons to attain enlightenment. Yeah, we can attain enlightenment, but it takes 3 unmeasurable eons. And one measurable eon, one type is 3,420 million years, but these ones are unmeasurable. They are infinitely longer. Yeah. So it's not a very fast track. Yeah.
So exactly before you reach enlightenment, can you like remember when you started? Like it was like a very long time, very I can't remember. So it's like
a timer.
That's the principle of the Jataka tales.
It was like a few thousand lives ago, and
not 2,000 million, trillions lifetimes ago, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Then we have the path of transformation. And the principle is very different. The principle is the passions are like firewood, wisdom like fire. The more firewood, the more fire. Sounds very nice, yes? Because then I can give free rein to all the passions and become enlightened in this lifetime, not after. But I need capacity, because otherwise I just create terrible karma. I just give free rein to the passions and I cannot transform them into wisdom, then I just create more and more karma. And then I create more karma, then I stay for many more lifetimes in samsara. So it says, it's compared with a medicine called the Machika medicine, which is produced by evaporating mercury and catching the vapors of mercury in gold and sulfur. So if you do it properly, you have the embers very deep in the earth, and then you put the mercury and you trap the vapor in this and nothing happens to you. But if you don't do it properly, you breathe this vapor and then you begin to have trembling and your skin begins to, and then you die after some time. So it's said to be very dangerous. Yeah, it is said that it's like a businessman. Every businessman knows that a business is the possibility of earning very much, many more times than your investment. Then that's a very dangerous business. And if it's a very safe business, you can earn a little bit, yeah, but then you have the possibility of multiplying your fortune. Then this is the same principle, yeah. If you apply it correctly and you have the right capacity, you can, by means of this method, attain enlightenment in this lifetime, attain Rigpa at least in this lifetime. But if you don't, or if you do it wrongly, or you don't know your intention, then you can just make your situation infinitely worse than it was already. So this is the problem with this path, but still it's very nice. if we can apply it, because it's much faster than the other one. Just we need the right capacity. And what does the right capacity mean?
What does it mean?
It means that I have to be able to transform the passion into wisdom. And how can I do that? Because the passion is originally wisdom. We can give two examples. One of anger or hatred, and another one of desire, erotic desire. Yeah? With that, it can be very easily understood. Someone comes now through this door because he knows I'm here and he has some grudge against me. And he comes in and he begins to shout at me very angry. So I'm here talking to you, but imagine you are not here. I am here alone, on my own, and I have a little passion, thinking tomorrow I must do this or that in the morning, and maybe if I do it wrongly, I will have something very bad, but if I do it properly, I will have a big gain. So I am worrying about that. That's a passion. Yeah. When he comes, that passion dissolves completely. And in the first moment, there is not even a subject-object duality. Then, in the second moment, the subject-object duality arises. In that moment, in the first moment, there is only mirror-like wisdom. In a mirror, there is no subject-object duality. There is just clarity without the subject-object duality. In the second moment, there is still clarity. Because if this person will attack me, I will have to be able to defend myself. So I cannot be thinking of the monkeys in the forest. I have to be totally present here. And that is clarity, to some extent. And then in the third moment, there are some little pills in there.
And this.
This is the, oh yeah. No, I made some sucking pills.
This is for 8 o'clock also, no?
Huh? That is for 8 o'clock. I will take it right now also, but I want the pill. It seems they are not here. Oh, they are here. It's good that I... Here. Okay. Okay. In the third moment, I think, but what does this stupid, well, I won't say the word that I could think about him, yeah, will think he can do to me? He thinks he can humble me in this way and step over me in that way, and then my blood pressure increases and my stomach is like squeezed, and then my thoughts take me, and I could take over me, and I could go and fight, and maybe he kills me, I kill him, I go to jail if I kill him, or we hurt each other and we both go to the hospital and then to jail, or anyhow, I will never be satisfied, because even if I hit him, if I win still he did this thing to me, and that will not be erased by the fact that I managed to beat him up or something like that. So there is no way that this will work. And I will create bad karma, and I will create more propensity for manifesting the same passion. So no way, yeah? It's terrible. Then, what do I do in that case? We said the first moment was mirror-like wisdom. I have to turn the passion back into mirror-like wisdom. And how do I do that? Tantra is the path of transformation. So I visualize myself as a wrathful deity. Everyone knows what a wrathful deity looks like? Yeah? Yes. Okay. I know you know, but I didn't know whether the ladies knew. the size of the universe. So there is nothing outside you can direct your anger against. And then your anger becomes the clarity of feeling like this deity. And the whole energy of the anger becomes the energy of the fire around the deity, and the sensation of being this Buddha with a wrathful aspect, without wanting to damage anyone. And then you can use that as a reflection in a mirror that allows you to realize the true condition of the mirror, which is non-dual. And then you attain wisdom that way. Or desire, then instead of wanting to engage in a relationship for reaching a climax, like happens normally in samsara, maybe we have these two very young boy and girl who never had an erotic relationship before, and they hold hands and they begin to float. They feel like they are floating. They secrete a lot of dopamine, and they feel a lot of pleasure, and they have this nice sensation, but they get used to this nice sensation. After a little while, when they get used to it, they become indifferent to it, so it becomes neutral. So they have to now hold hands more strongly, and then they got used to it, then they have to embrace, then they get used to it, and they begin to, and then at some point they are just no longer in the present, but they are just looking towards a future at which they believe they will feel in total pleasure. And they are totally away from the now, looking at that moment in the future, and the now is escaping. But then, when they come to that moment in the future, what happens? Well, if they dissolve totally in pleasure, then there is no one experiencing it, but they want to experience it. So, they want to continue to feel separate from the pleasure and grasp it. And then it's like someone who takes sand or water and tries to grasp it, and it escapes from the hand. Oh, I won't say it's not pleasurable, of course. But it's never the total pleasure that was fancied. Yeah? So that's why probably Saint Augustine said, after coitus, all animals are sad. Then what happens? That you believe that you were going to attain plenitude, total plenitude through pleasure. You were going to fill yourself with pleasure and achieve total plenitude. But it passed. And now you have to face this emptiness again, this lack, this sensation of lack, this lack of plenitude, this incompleteness. And then what to do now? Well, of course, they can embrace a little bit, but still, maybe go to sleep. Well, if they have energy, they can try again. Otherwise, maybe turn on the television, go to the restaurant if they have money, or go to the movies, or go to some entertainment or something, yeah, in order to avoid, to elude this.
But you have to realize that's one of the very possible gates. The Taoists call this jumping from the swing. So if you stay in the swing, and then it's almost like stopping time. Of course, it's not easy, but it's not doable just by mind. It's a technique. Otherwise, you're jumping the swing, and of course, you swing, and then boom. Of course, when you fall, it's a fall. That's the whole trap. Actually, I think it's one of these avidyas, because sometimes love was called little death because you dissolve into the other person. So, and that sometimes scares you because the mind is scared. It's like, okay, I no longer exist, or what is happening? But actually, that's the point where you can actually reach enlightenment, not being trapped in this dualism that you still want to be yourself and separate from this.
But Taoism teaches you to retain the seed essence, and the same does Tantra. That is the point. And by retaining the seed essence, if the consort is the appropriate one for you and you receive the blessings, then you can develop heat. And then the heat is the female energy here, that would be the gate of the lower doors in Tantra. Then the heat would be the female energy here, red, like fire. And the white, the male energy would be here, yeah? And the fire would go up through the central channel and would melt this. And then it would, this melting, when you begin here, you will have through all, each and every channel of this chakra, feel the sensation, not just like a climax which is very short and more intense than the climax, and then when it comes here it will become stronger, and when it comes here even stronger, and when it comes here even stronger, and then in Tantra you have to stop it there, because otherwise you lose the seed essence and you won't have the energy to continue to practice. Yeah, you have to learn to retain the seed essence so that it will work. And then when you have total pleasure, it is then that you can use this pleasure as an image, a very strong reflection in a mirror to discover the true condition of the mirror. Yeah? The mirror represents our awareness, which is non-dual. So it's working, yeah, if we apply it correctly. In Dzogchen we can go further, and it has to do with what you said. In Dzogchen you can allow the after you have practiced a lot, you can and you can also apply the higher doors method, which is with visualization and kumbhaka and so on, to produce this pleasure and this, and then when you unite, then you can allow the pleasure to go to the lowest chakra. And then if you keep in Rigpa, I mean, it's to be in Rigpa and realize total pleasure in Rigpa. And if you keep in Rigpa, you only lose the impure side of the Tigle. You don't lose the pure aspect of the Tigle. But that's very hard, because it's very hard to remain in Rigpa. So that's why Tantric practitioners say this should never be done. And even some Dzogchen teachers said it shouldn't be done, because actually for most people it's totally impossible. Anyhow, that's an example of the path of transformation through the two main passions, which are
anger and
acceptance and rejection.
And we can use this opportunity to present tomorrow evening's talk about
Please announce it.
love, tantra, and wisdom of non-duality. Yes.
That's tomorrow. That's a bait. So don't be like a fish. No, it's a good bait. It won't hurt.
we'll talk about love and
love, tantra, and non-dual wisdom.
All right.
Okay. So now the path of spontaneous liberation, Dzogchen. One second, I have to humidify this, and the ladies in the toilet, so it's good that we wait for a little moment.
We will take a little break in like 20 minutes or so.
We could also take a very, very, very short break.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now it's the second part of this talk. Good idea.